The room was silent except for the ticking of an old wall clock. Jonathan Blake sat slumped on his couch, surrounded by silence, darkness, and the weight of everything that had gone wrong. He was a man who once had it all: family, career, and purpose. But now, all of it felt like a distant dream. Bills were piling up on the counter. His phone was filled with missed calls he didn't want to return, and his reflection in the mirror looked nothing like the man he used to be. Just a year ago, Jonathan was the regional manager of a successful tech firm in Denver. His days were filled with meetings, client presentations, and late-night brainstorming sessions. He loved the challenge, the rush, and most of all, the ability to provide a good life for his wife, Rachel, and their 2 kids, Mason and Lila. But then came the merger. New management. Downsizing. Suddenly, 15 years of dedication were erased with a single meeting. They told him it wasn't personal. It never is. But to Jonathan it felt deeply personal. His identity was tied to that job, that role, that title. Without it, he felt like a shell of himself. At first, he tried to stay strong, to reassure his family that everything would be fine. But weeks turned into months. Interviews led to rejections. Savings dwindled. Tension grew. Rachel tried to stay supportive, but the cracks in their marriage deepened with every unpaid bill and sleepless night. One evening, after another unsuccessful interview and an argument with Rachel that left them both in tears, Jonathan found himself standing alone on a hiking trail just outside the city. It was cold. The wind bit through his coat. He stood there staring at the endless sky, wondering how everything could fall apart so quickly. He whispered, "Why me?" into the wind, but the silence was the only answer he got. That night, he wrote a letter. Not a goodbye, but a confession. He poured his heart into it, admitting his fears, his failures, and the crushing feeling of worthlessness that had taken over him. He didn't know if he'd share it with anyone, but putting the words down helped. For the first time in months, he slept. The next morning, Mason knocked on his door. "Dad, wanna come to my basketball game today?" Jonathan hesitated. He hadn't been to a game in weeks. He'd been too ashamed to show his face, too tired to cheer. But Mason's hopeful eyes pulled him in. "Yeah, buddy. I'll be there." At the game, Jonathan sat quietly in the back row. He watched his son run across the court, full of energy and passion. In that moment, something stirred in him. That boy still needed his dad. Not the manager, not the breadwinner, the man. The father. The one who showed up. That night, after the kids went to sleep, Rachel sat beside him. "I miss you," she said softly. He looked at her, tears threatening to fall. "I miss me too," he replied. They talked for hours. Not about money or jobs or what they'd lost, but about what they still had. Love, family, a reason to fight. And in that conversation, something powerful began to return: hope. Over the next few weeks, Jonathan began to rebuild. Not overnight, not easily, but piece by piece. He woke up early, showered, shaved, and started treating job hunting like a job itself. He volunteered at a local shelter once a week, just to feel useful again. He started journaling daily, capturing his thoughts and goals. He even began running again, a hobby he'd abandoned when life got busy. One morning, during a run, Jonathan stopped at a park bench to catch his breath. An elderly man sitting nearby smiled and said, "You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders." Jonathan laughed bitterly. "It's been a rough year." The man nodded. "You know, I lost everything once. Wife, business, even my home. Lived in a car for 6 months. But I found out something while sitting in the bottom of that pit. Rock bottom teaches you things a penthouse never will." Jonathan looked at him, curious. "Like what?" "Like the fact that you're not broken, just breaking open. Sometimes life doesn't break you to punish you. It breaks you to wake you up. To build something stronger." Those words stuck with Jonathan. He returned home that day with a new sense of clarity. He began recording short video diaries. Honest reflections about failure, resilience, and getting back up. At first, he posted them privately, just to track his own progress. But Rachel encouraged him to share one publicly. "There might be someone out there who needs to hear this," she said. So he did. The video wasn't flashy. No fancy camera, no perfect lighting. Just Jonathan, sitting in his garage, speaking from the heart. When life breaks you, it doesn't ask for permission. It storms in, flips your world upside down, and leaves you wondering if you'll ever stand again. But what I've learned is this. The pain is real, yes, but so is the comeback. You don't need to have all the answers today. Just take one step. Show up. Keep breathing. Because even when it feels like everything is falling apart, something inside you is trying to rebuild. Let it. To his surprise, the video resonated. Hundreds of views turned into thousands. People commented, messaged, and shared their own stories of struggle. His words, born from pain, became a source of healing for others. Jonathan continued to post weekly, speaking not as a motivational speaker, but as a man who'd been through the fire. His audience grew. He was invited to speak at a community center, then a school, and eventually at a corporate seminar for professionals facing job loss. One day, a woman named Emily reached out. She was the CEO of a nonprofit that helped displaced workers transition into new careers. She'd seen his videos and was impressed. "Would you consider joining our advisory team?" she asked. Jonathan was stunned. For the first time in a long time, someone believed in him not for what he had lost, but for what he had become. The job didn't pay as much as his old one, but it didn't matter. It gave him purpose, a new direction, and it allowed him to help others find their way too. On the one-year anniversary of his layoff, Jonathan stood on a stage at a conference, speaking to an audience of over 500 people. "I used to think life broke me. That losing my job, my confidence, and almost my family meant the end. But now I see it was the beginning. Because sometimes the hardest seasons aren't meant to crush you. They're meant to forge you. The version of me standing here today isn't the same man who got that termination letter. He's stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever." As the applause rang out, Jonathan looked at Rachel in the front row, holding Mason and Lila's hands. He smiled proud. He smiled back grateful. So if you're reading this or listening and you're in that dark place, know this: you are not alone. Life might break you, but it can also build you. Every setback you face is a setup for your comeback. You are still breathing, still standing, and still capable of rising. Don't let the darkness convince you that the light is gone. It's still there inside you, waiting. Jonathan Blake's story is a reminder that pain is not the end of your story. It's the chapter that leads to your greatest strength. Because when life breaks you, it's not always to destroy you, but to prepare you for something greater. Keep going. You're not finished yet.